And so I wanted to talk a little bit about this aspect, if I could, with today's guest, who happens to be a neighbor of ours in Ma'ale Adumim. His name is Gidon Ariel. He is a resident of Ma'ale Adumim here in Israel. Gidon founded and directs Root Source, www.root-source.com, an organization in which pro-Israel Christians and Jews explore their common past, present, and future. He recently founded the successful Facebook group, quote, Jews who love Christians who love Jews, and the Christians who love them. Say that 3 times fast. Today is the director of the Holy Land Bible Sea, the first international online Bible quiz for pro-Israel, Bible-believing Christians. A graduate of the prestigious Birkat Moshe Yeshiva in our community in Ma'ale Adumim, Gidon recently directed the Ma'ale Adumim Community Aliyah Project from North America. Gidon serves in the IDF Reserves as a major in the military spokesperson's office after spending over 20 years in the Armed Corps, which is the tank corps of the Israeli army. So, Gidon, we're very, very happy to have you as our guest today. How are you doing?
Thank you very much, Rabbi Eilan, and I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. Of all the stuff that I read of your credentials, the one part that really sang to me, and which is really why I invited you here today, Gidon, is to talk about this aspect of your work with Christians. And they may, I guess, be Christian Zionists. But, if you were a Reformed Jew, I would say, okay, here's another Reformed Jew kind of reaching out to people outside of his faith or her faith. If you were conservative, if you were Reconstructionist, I might also say, well, this is not unusual. What catches me and my attention is the fact that you are an Orthodox Jew. You're a practicing, observing Orthodox Dati Jew, and you are dealing a good part of your day with Christians. To me, this is still unusual, and I guess in inviting you, I guess my hope is that maybe one day it shouldn't be this unusual, but I think nowadays it still is kind of unique to have Orthodox Jewish people working this closely with the Christian community. And I was wondering, how did you get involved in that? How did you get involved in working with those outside of the Jewish faith?
Well, I'll tell you, I moved to Israel when I was in high school, and I really loved it here. And what really happened was that I never really had too much anti-Semitic attacks against me as a child. Mm-hmm. So I sort of like missed the day in kindergarten when the Jews are supposed to hate the non-Jews, Right. And but one of the days that I wasn't absent in kindergarten was the day that they taught about if somebody extends their hand in friendship to you, then you should greet that hand with a hand extended back. And throughout my years here in Israel, every so often I would see a little sign, a little activity of pro-Israel Christians. And I was really enchanted by this, and I little by little started looking in, and very little by little I realized that the people that I was seeing and I was meeting were the real thing. Obviously, we don't have enough time to go into the history of this movement, and it is growing more and more. But on a personal level, some of these people are simply really nice people. This is the Derech Eretz hour, people who know that Derech Eretz kadma Torah and also was after the Torah. Mm-hmm. And on I could say a Torah level, it seems to me that when I say every day in Aleinu L'Shabeach, the prayer that we repeat every day, L'Taken Olam B'Malchut Shaddai, we're out here, the mission, pardon the expression, of the Jewish people is really to fix the world under the kingship of the Almighty. Now, it's been a little bit difficult for us Jews throughout the millennia of our exile to do that because we've been pretty busy just keeping our heads above water. And now here we are coming back to our land, coming back to being able to show the world how a state should be run and how individually we should be run. But we, notwithstanding the internet, it's not easy to reach everybody in the world. And I really feel that the closest thing that we have to Jewish ambassadors, as it were, are these pro-Israel Bible-believing Christians. Obviously, there's a lot that we differ on, but there's really a lot that we have in common. And my goal is to try to focus on that which we have in common, to face the challenges that we have in common.
So when you deal with these Christians, is it mostly through media, or is a lot of it face-to-face? Is a lot of it, at meetings? Where exactly do you meet these Christians with whom you work?
Of course, everything's through media nowadays. I am in touch through my Facebook groups, Jews who love Christians who love Jews, and the Christians who love them. I've got when I launched that, it was amazing. I was looking for Jews who love Christians because, as you hinted, we've had thousands of years of not loving Christians so much with good cause. But I knew that there were a handful of Jews like this, and I just wanted to see who's on the team. Within a week, I had 1,000 members.
Wow. But
they were not Jewish. Most of them were the Christians who love them. And within 3 months, I already had close to 4,000 members. So it's clear that there are many, many, many Christians out there who didn't join this group because they want to proselytize somebody. They join this group because they have a sincere interest in what they consider to be the roots of their faith. Now, this is not all Christians, but there are quite a few, and those are the ones that I'm trying to reach out to.
I have so many questions that I want to ask you. I'm sensitive to the fact that we don't have, all day, but...
I'll talk faster.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. But this is so interesting to me because in my work back in the United States with various congregations, this was also a leaning of mine in terms of interfaith work, etc. Did you, as an Orthodox Jew, have any worries or concerns in approaching this kind of interfaith work? And how do your friends, your family, your community, how do they feel about what you're doing? Do they feel it's anomalous? Or do they feel it's yasher koach, good for you, somebody's got to do it?
Well, sir, first, if I may answer the second question first, there are all different kinds. Many times people hear, Jews hear, and religious Jews hear the word Christian. That's it. They just are stopped dead in their tracks. And they just can't think of anything but the horrendous history that Christians have had. I'm dealing, however, with Christians who are of a different feather, who are much more knowledgeable about the Old Testament, the good parts of the Old Testament, right. the Jewish Tanakh, which is really one of the many, but certainly one of the leading gifts of the Jewish people to the world. And this is something that people aren't familiar with. They're always looking for, often they're looking for some sort of ulterior motive. But there are a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I once met a nice Jew, Christian, or oh yeah, I remember once this, that, and the other thing. So it is little by little, relatively, a growing phenomenon. Could you just remind me of your first question, Rabbi?
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any worries or concerns when you first started.
Yeah,
this kind of work.
Sure. As you mentioned, I'm a graduate of a Hesder Yeshiva, one of the leading Torah academies, Talmudical academies here in Israel. My bona fides are okay as far as an Orthodox Jew, and in fact, since I did study all those years in yeshiva, I'm very solid in my own Jewish faith. Yes. So, on a personal level, it didn't bother me. It did not bother me at all. More, it was in fact a question of social. If somebody finds out, hey, I'm dealing with the Christians, first of all, they're going to say, oh, he's a closet Christian himself. Right. And second of all, they're going to say, what are you dealing with those Christians? They just want ABC. Well, once I got over that and I realized, you can keep on looking over your shoulder and see who's chasing you, or you can just run with the ball and make the touchdown. Then I decided, and again, it took a little while for me to become more and more confident in what I'm doing, and I'm very excited that I am on the avant-garde of this. Obviously, there's millions of Christians who really deal with this. I can't tell you exactly how many hundreds of Jews there are who deal with this, but it just might be the shape of things to come. If I can just pop over to probably what we heard in the news a moment ago, and that is the Iranian threat. This is something that these Christians realize, that we are standing together. And so I am of the opinion that not necessarily the Jews need all the friends that we can get. We have one friend, and their quality counts more than quantity.
Are you saying the one up above?
Exactly.
There you go.
However, he manifests in many different ways, and I do think, the old story with the helicopter and the flood. I think that the way that God is trying to help us is through these pro-Israel Christians.
So, what if you could just summarize in like a nutshell? What is your goal in all of the education that you're trying to provide for Christian children through your Bible Bee, as you meet various people? I looked on your Facebook page and I see you have pictures with various Christian leaders, etc. So as you seek to develop a sense of Derech Eretz between yourself and them, between them and yourself, between Judaism and Christianity, Christianity and Judaism, to me, it's all about Derech Eretz, how we present ourselves and how we make God look good in the world.
Right.
Could you say, just in a nutshell, what is your overall goal in these kinds of interactions? Besides
that, what I mentioned before, which is L'Taken Olam B'Malchut Shaddai, and obviously I'm not going to be leading that, but every little bit counts.
Sure.
And really, what we're talking about here, if I may, lahavdil, say just as many people will say that there's a tremendous thirst amongst Jews who weren't raised in traditional Torah Judaism. There's a tremendous thirst there for God's word. Well, God is the God and Father of all of us. We Jews are lucky because we got the manual, but really God is reaching out to all of his children who are all of the human race. And so there are tremendous amounts of Christians who just want to know what's going on. So if all I can do is make a friendship on a personal level, if all I can do is give a person a little opportunity, a little direction in studying a little bit more about God, about his people on earth, about our perspective on history, both past, present, and future, then that would be exactly what I want. And I am looking forward to about 1 million participants. 1 million sounds like a big number, but it's a drop in the bucket.
It's a huge number.
It's a drop in the bucket when you talk about the over 1 billion Christians that there are in the world. I'm looking forward to 1 million youth, adults, and seniors who will participate in the Holy Land Bible Bee. That's www.holylandbiblebee.com. Because I'm going to be teaching there the Bible, and the winners are going to get a free trip to Israel.
Wow. And this is for Christians?
Christians only.
And you had mentioned adults, kids?
Yes. Anybody over the age of 14 can participate. It costs nothing to participate. And really excited about it. It's the first time that we're holding it. We have the endorsement of Christian leaders and Israeli government leaders, like the Minister of Tourism, Stas Mesezhnikov, the Minister of Hasbara, Public Diplomacy, Yuli Edelstein. Right now we have also the Deputy Foreign Minister, Dani Ayalon. We're working on all the fronts.
Do you have, at this point, any kind of rabbinical support that's happy to throw their weight behind your cause?
I don't need rabbinic weight behind me, because really this is a program only for Christians. I do, of course, as an Orthodox Jew, I confer with my rabbis who, of course, are Orthodox.
Right. So here we are in the Derech Eretz Hour. It's towards the 9 days where we think about our behavior and activities and how we can improve the world, etc. How can we, the average listener, how can we learn to love our neighbor as you are, as you do?
Well, first of all, Rabbi Ilan, I love you. You are my neighbor.
I love you too. And maybe we'll talk about that.
But
no, but I'm saying outside our community. it's hard enough to love fellow Jews. If that's all we had to do, that would be a hard enough thing. But the suggestion is that we ought to reach out and kind of break down certain barriers between ourselves and the Christian community. How can we learn to love the other?
I actually think it's a little easier to love Christians than it is to love Jews, because in Jews, you're here in the pit with them. Here you are dealing with the Jews that everybody knows their own, all the pimples and stuff like that.
Right.
The Christians are just people that, on the one hand, it can be very difficult because of xenophobia, especially, like I mentioned a number of times, the history that the tragic history of anti-Semitism amongst Christians. So people have a difficulty letting that go.
Well, you said yourself in the very beginning that had you been in school on the day that they said something anti-Jewish, or if you had been the butt of anti-Semitic acts, things might have been different.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, again, I'm not promoting the well-known Christian ideal of turning the other cheek, but, there is a value, a Jewish value of slicha and kapara. We are in the 9 days, but we're coming, of course, towards the month of Elul, the month of the Chodesh Rachamim v'Haslichot, and especially if you don't have to forgive a person who did something, but a person whose ancestors might have done something, then it really should be a little bit easier. I don't think that there's a mitzvah of bearing a grudge for generations.
Right.
So if you don't hold on to that, then it's just a question of being confident in who you are and recognizing that nobody's out to change you. And if they are, don't worry, because you are confident in your own self-esteem. And then if two people recognize that that is the basis, that, hey, I am who I am, you are who you are, and let's see what common ground we have.
Does this work that you do, does this make you feel closer to God in any way? Does it make you feel more spiritual personally?
Truly appreciate that question. The answer is definitely. Because Judaism is not just, as you say, love your neighbor as yourself, being your own neighbor, but it really is reaching out to the whole world. It's something we haven't had a lot of experience with, but that's really what we are. We are all God's children, and when I recognize that there are people, Jews and Christians, who are reaching out to recognize and to discover their connection with the divine, their sense of spirituality, and any type of connection that I can give them with that, it's a beauty to behold, and it brings me closer to Hashem as well.
What would you like to say in the last few seconds? And I guess we don't even have that time.